Chapter 2. I resisted all the way, a new thing for me, and a circumstance which greatly strengthened the bad opinion Bessie and Miss Abbott were disposed to entertain of me. The fact is, I was a trifle beside myself, or rather out of myself, as the French would say. I was conscious that a moment's mutiny had already rendered me liable to strange penalties, and, like any other labor slave, I felt resolved, in my desperation, to go length. Hold her arms, Miss Abbott. She's like a mad cat. For shame, cried the lady's maid. What shocking conduct, Miss Eyre, to strike a young gentleman, your benefactress's son, your young master. Master? How is he my master? Am I your servant? No, you are less than a servant, for you do nothing for your keep. There, sit down, and think over your weakness. They had got me by this time into the apartment indicated by Mrs. Reed, and had thrust me upon a stool. My impulse was to rise from it like a spring. Their two pair of hands arrested me instantly. If you don't sit still, you must be tied down, said Bessie. Miss Abbott, lend me your garters. She would break mine directly. Miss Abbott turned to divest a stout leg of the necessary ligature. This preparation for bones and the additional ignominy, This preparation for bones and the additional ignominy, it, in fact, took a little of the excitement out of me. Took a little of the excitement out of me. Don't take them off, I cried. I will last her. I will last her. Don't take them off. I will last her. In guarantee whereof I attached myself to my seat by my hand. Mind you don't, said Bessie, and when she had ascertained that I was really subsiding, she loosened her hold of me. Then she and Miss Abbott stood with folded arms, looking darkly and doubtfully on my face, as incredulous of my sanity. She never did so before. At last said Bess, turning to the Abigail. But it was always in her, was the reply. I've told Mrs. Upton my opinion about the child. I've told Mrs. Upton by my Upton my opinion about the child, and Mrs. agreed with me. She's an underhand little thing. She's an underhand little thing. I never saw a girl of her age with so much cover. I never saw a girl of her age. With so much cover. Bessie answered not, but Aaron, addressing me, she said, You ought to be aware, miss, that you are under obligation to Mrs. Reed. She keeps you. If she were to turn you off, you would have to go to the poorhouse. I had nothing to say to these words. They were not new to me. My very first recollections of existence included hints of the same kind. This reproach of my dependence had become a vague sing-song in my ear, very painful and crushing, but only half intelligible. but only half intelligible. But only half intelligible, Miss Abbott joined in. And you ought not to think yourself on an equality with the Mrs. Reed and Master Reed, because Mrs. kindly allows you to be brought up with them. Mrs. kindly allows you to be brought up with them. They will have a great deal of money. They will have a great deal of money, and you will have none. It is your place to be humble, and to try to make yourself agreeable to them. It is your place to be humble, and to try make yourself agreeable to them. And to try make yourself agreeable to them. What we tell you is for your good. What we tell you is for your good. What we tell you is for your good, added Bessie. In no harsh voice, in no harsh voice, in no harsh voice. You should try to be useful and pleasant. You should try to be useful and pleasant. Then perhaps you would have a home here. Then perhaps you would have a home here. You would have a home here. You would have a home here. But if you become passionate and rude, Mrs. will send you away. I am sure, Mrs. You will send away. Mrs. will send you 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 away. I am sure. Besides, said Miss Abbott, God will punish her. He might strike her dead in the midst of her tantrums. And then, where would she go? Come, Bessie, we will leave her. I wouldn't have her hurt for anything. Say your prayer, Miss Eyre, when you are by yourself. For if you don't repent, something bad might be permitted to come down the chimney and fetch you away. They went, shutting the door and locking it behind them. The red room was a spirit chamber, very seldom slept in. I might say never, indeed. Unless when a chance influx of visitors at Gateshead Hall rendered it necessary to turn to account all the accommodation it contained. Yet it was one of the largest and stateliest chambers in the mansion. A bed, supported on massive pillars of mahogany, hung with curtains of deep red damask, stood out like a tabernacle in the center. The two large windows, with their blinds always drawn down, were half shrouded in festoons and furs of similar drapery. The carpet was red. The table at the foot of the bed was covered with a crimson cloth. The table at the foot of the bed was covered with a crimson cloth. The table at the foot of the bed was covered with a crimson cloth. The walls were a soft fawn color with a brush of pink in it. The wardrobe, the toilet table, the chairs were of darkly polished old mahogany. Out of these deep surrounding shades rose high and glared white the piled up mattress and pillow of the bed, spread with a snowy Marseille's counterpane. Scarcely less prominent was an ample Scarcely less prominent was an ample. Scarcely less prominent was an ample cushioned easy chair near. Scarcely less prominent was an ample cushioned easy chair near the head of the bed, also white with a footstool before it, and looking, as I thought, like a pale throne. Cushioned easy chair near the head of the bed, also white, with a footstool before it, and looking, as I thought, like a pale throne. This room was chill. This room was chill because it seldom had a fire. This room was chill because it seldom had a fire. It was silent because remote from the nursery and kitchens. Solemn because it was known to be so seldom entered. The housemaid alone came here on Saturdays to wipe from the mirrors and the furniture a week's quiet dust, and Mrs. Reed herself at far intervals visited it to review the contents of a certain secret drawer in the wardrobe, where were stored divers parchment, her jewel casket, and a miniature of her deceased husband, and in those last words lies the secret of the Red Room, the spell which kept it so lonely in spite of its grandeur. Mr. Reed had been dead 9 years. It was in this chamber he breathed his last. Here he lay in state. Hence his coffin was borne by the undertaker's man. And since that day, a sense of dreary consecration had guarded it from frequent intrusion. A sense of dreary consecration had guarded it from frequent intrusion. My seat, to which Bessie and the bitter beast had left me riveted, was a low ottoman near the marble chimney-piece. The bed rose for me. To my right hand there was the high dark wardrobe, with subdued broken reflection bearing the gloss of its panels. To my left were the muffled windows, a great looking glass between them. Repeated the vacant majesty of the bed and room. I was not quite sure whether they had locked the door, and when I dared move, I got up and went to see. Alas, yes, no jail was even more secure. Returning, I had to cross before the looking-glass. My fascinated glance involuntarily explored the depth revealed. All looked colder and darker in that visionary hollows than in reality, and the strange little figure there gazing at me, with a white face and arms specking the gloom, and glittering eyes of fear moving, where all else was still. And the glittering eyes of fear moving, where all else was still, had the effect of a real spirit, had the effect of a real spirit. I thought it like one of the tiny phantoms, half fairy. I thought it like one of the tiny phantoms, half fairy, half imp Bessie's evening stories represented as coming out of long, funny days in moors, and appearing before the eyes of belated travelers. I returned to my stool. Of belated travelers, I returned to my stool. Superstition was with me at that moment, but it was not yet her hour for complete victory. My blood was still warm. The mood of the revolted slave was still blazing me. My blood was still warm. The mood of the revolted slave was still bracing me with its bitter vigor. I had no stem or rapid loss of retrospective thought before I quailed to dismal present. I had to stem a rapid loss of retrospective thought before I quailed to the dismal present. I quailed to dismal present. I quailed to the dismal present. I quailed the dismal present. I had to stem a rapid loss of retrospective thought before I quailed to the dismal present. All John Reed's violent tyrannies, all John Reed's violent tyrannies, all his sister's proud indifference, or his mother's aversion, all the servants' partiality, turned up in my disturbed mind like a dark deposit in a turbid well. Turn up in my disturbed mind like a dark deposit in a turbid well. Why was I always suffering, always browbeaten, always accused, forever condemned, always beaten? Why was I always suffering, always browbeaten, always accused, forever condemned? Why could I never please? Why was it useless to try to win anyone's favor? Eliza, who was headstrong and selfish, was respected. Georgiana, who had a spoiled temper, a very acrid spite, a captious and insolent carriage, was universally indulged. Her beauty, her pink cheeks and golden curls seemed to give delight to all who looked at her, and to purchase indemnity. Georgiana, who had a spoiled temper, a very acrid spite, a captious and insolent carriage, was universally indulged. For every fault, John no one thwarted, much less punished. Though he twisted the necks of the pigeons, killed the little pea-chicks, set the dogs at the sheep, stripped the hothouse vines of their fruit, and broke the buzz of the choicest plants in the conservatory, and broke the buzz of choicest plants in the conservatory. He called his mother old girl too, sometimes reviled her for her dark skin, similar to his own, bluntly discarded her wishes. Not infrequently, tore and spoiled her silk attire. And he was still her own darling. I dared commit no fault. And he was still her own darling. I dared commit no fault. I strove to fulfill every duty. I dared commit no fault. I dared commit no fault. I strove to fulfill every duty, and I was termed naughty and tiresome. I was termed naughty and tiresome. Sullen and sneaking, from morning to noon and from noon to night. My head still ached. And bled with the blow and fall I had received. No one had reproved John for wantonly striking me. My head still ached and bled with the blow and fall I had received. No one had reproved John for wantonly striking me. And because I had turned against him to avert further relational violence, and because I had turned against him to avert further relational violence. I was loaded with general opprobrium. Unjust, said my reason, first by the agonizing, stimulus. My reason, first by the agonizing stimulus, into precocious, though transitory power, and said my reason, first by the agonizing stimulus into precocious, though transitory power, and reserve equally lot of instigated some strange expedient to achieve escape from insupportable oppression, and reserve equally lot of instigated some strange expedient to achieve escape from insupportable oppression, as running away, or if that could not be effected, never eating or drinking more, and letting myself die. 비슷하게 자극받은 결단력도 견딜 수 없는 핍박을 피하려면 도망치든가, 그렇지 않으면 단식해서 죽는 방법을 택하라고 체근했다. 비슷하게 작업받은 결단력도 체근했다. Reserve, equally wrote up, instigated some strange expedient. Reserve, equally wrote up, instigated some strange expedient. To achieve, escape from insupportable oppression. Escape from insupportable oppression as running away. As running away, or if that could not be effected, never eating or drinking more and letting myself die. Reserve equally wrote up, instigated some strange expedient to achieve. Escape from insupportable oppression, as running away, or if that could not be effected, never eating or drinking more, and letting myself die. Unjust, said my reason. First by the agonizing stimulus into precocious though transitory power, said my reason. First by the agonizing stimulus into precocious though transitory power, and reserve equally wrote up, instigated some strange expedient to achieve escape from insupportable oppression as running away, or if that could not be effected. What a consternation. What a consternation of soul was mine that dreary afternoon. 쓸쓸한 그날 오후에 내 영혼은 얼마나 놀랐는가. What a consternation. What a consternation of soul was mine that dreary afternoon. What a consternation. What a consternation. What a consternation of my soul. What a consternation of 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 soul was mine that dreary afternoon. How all my brain was in tumult and all my heart in insurrection. 머리는 혼란스럽고 마음속에서는 반발심이 들끓었다. How all my brain was in tumult. How all my brain was in tumult and all my heart in insurrection. How all my brain was in tumult and all my heart in insurrection. How all my brain was in tumult and all my heart in insurrection. How all my brain was in tumult and all my heart in insurrection. Yet in what darkness. 암흑 속에서 얼마나 마음속에 투쟁을 벌였는지. Yet in what darkness. What dense ignorance was mental battle fought. What dense ignorance was mental battle fought. Mental battle fought. I could not answer the ceaseless inward question. I could not answer the ceaseless inward question. Why I thus suffered, now at the distance of I will not say how many years, I see it clearly. What a consternation of soul was mine that dreary afternoon. What a consternation of soul was mine that dreary afternoon. How all my brain was in tumult, and all my heart in insurrection. Yet in what darkness, what dense ignorance was mental battle fought. I could not answer the ceaseless inward question. Why I thus suffered, now at the distance of I see it clearly. 나는 왜 그런 고통을 겪어야 하는지 아무리 생각해도 답할 수 없는 의문이었다. 답이 없는 물음. 여전히. I could not answer the ceaseless inward question. I was discord in Gateshead Hall. I was like nobody there. 나는 게이츠헤드 저택과 어울리지 않는 존재였다. 그곳에서 나는 어느 누구와도 같지 않았다. I was a discord in Gateshead Hall. I was like nobody there. I was like... 여보세요? 어? 맞나? 그래서 밀쳤어? 어. 음. 음.